Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this Wednesday's wellness webinar, where today's topic is We Are Only Human. My name is Katrina Francis, and I am working within the ESS Nutrition and Wellbeing team. Today's webinar, we are going to look at our gut health with a particular highlight on the bacteria which we can find within our guts. We're going to look at how this bacteria can affect both our physical and mental health and hopefully bust some myths along the way. And then towards the end, I'm going to give you some tips on how you can boost your good bacteria and your overall health of your gut. So let's just start off with some interesting facts. So first of all, we are not only human, we are home to lots of bacteria too. So we are actually made up of more bacterial cells than human cells. More than 70% of these microbiome cells live within your gut, the colon to be precise. And the average adult's gut bacteria weighs around 2 kilograms. So with this bacteria making up such a large amount of our bodies, it is really important that we look at what they do for us, the importance of them, and also how to take care of them. So now we know that we are made up of lots of different species of bacteria. We actually have hundreds of different bacterial species living within our bodies, but they can be very simply broken down in either to good bacteria or bad bacteria, and they have different roles. So the good bacteria is there to obtain energy from the foods that we eat. They help to break down undigested food and nutrients to things that our body can actually use up and be beneficial for us. And they also produce vital vitamins such as B12 and vitamin K. The good bacteria also plays a really important role in our immune system, so it helps to get rid of toxins, helps fight harmful viruses and bacteria, and can stop us from getting ill, as well as actually discouraging the growth of harmful microorganisms, which include our bad bacteria within our guts. We also find that this good bacteria is not only beneficial for our physical health, but can also benefit our mental health. They are seen to produce mood-boosting brain chemical serotonin, which is seen to be one of our happy hormones. So these good bacteria are basically a friend to our gut, just keeps our guts working properly and in check so that it can function correctly. On the other side of things, we can have bad bacteria, and this bad bacteria is seen to produce toxins and carcinogens, which can lead to the formation of cancer and can leave us feeling poorly if we have too much bad bacteria. It can also lead to digestive problems such as bloating and intestinal gas, and it can actually lead to a vicious cycle. So where we have bad bacteria, it can encourage the growth of even more bacteria to grow as well. So as mentioned, the majority of our good bacteria is found within our gut and the colon to be precise. But what does it actually do here, and what is the bacteria's role within our gut? So its main role is that it forms the gut's first line of defense, which means it plays a really important role in our immune function. This is really important as our gut is one of the most vulnerable areas to infection. So what happens is the good bacteria lines the intestinal villi walls and stops pathogens from entering the blood and circulating our bodies to be harmful for other respiring cells and organs, where we can become poorly ill and catch diseases. So it's there to be a protective barrier, first line of defense in our gut. It's also this for this protective wall to function optimally. However, we do want to have more good bacteria than bad bacteria. However, some individuals do have more bad bacteria, and this is where it can impair our gut function and immunity too. Not only does our gut bacteria affect our immunity, but it can also influence our behaviour and our health, as well as it stimulates millions of neurons. Now, our gut bacteria and our health is a very new and emerging research topic in terms of what we do and we don't know. There have been multiple studies carried out, some which are more significant and more valid than others. And a lot of them have made claims that suggest that good bacteria can reduce our risk of bowel cancer, obesity, and autoimmune problems, but there is still very limited significant research to make such big claims. There is, however, more positive evidence to show that good bacteria can benefit our digestive health by controlling diarrhea, bloating, constipation, and irritable bowel syndrome symptoms. So it can have that benefit on our physical health in that way. And these studies, the ones that have found the most amount of evidence, have used the bifidobacteria or the lactobacilli species of bacteria, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail later on. Now, our gut health goes further than just influencing our digestive health. And again, this is very new and emerging research, but there is suggestions that it can play, that they are key players in your mood and mental health as well. Again, new and emerging, but there is a little bit of evidence out there and studies to suggest this. And this is because we have a vagus nerve, which connects our brain and our gut, otherwise known as the brain-gut axis. And this basically allows messages to be sent from our brains to our guts, but also vice versa. So our guts can also talk to our brain. And this is actually can explain the saying, trust your gut instinct, as there is that communication between the two to talk to each other and communicate. However, when there is an imbalance in our gut bacteria, so when we have more bad bacteria compared to good bacteria, this can cause an inflammation. And as a result, the communication between the brain and the gut is altered. And this inflammation is linked with depression, anxiety, stress, and sleep deprivation. So having good bacteria within our gut can minimize this inflammation and also hopefully relieve symptoms and signs of depression, anxiety, and stress. But it's also important to mention that it can also work in the reverse too. So actually being stressed, being depressed can lead to that inflammation, and it can have a negative impact on our gut health as well. So let's just bust some common myths now about gut health. The first one is that bloating is always down to what we eat. This is false. Bloating can be down to many factors, including stress, as we've just mentioned with that gut-brain connection, lack of physical activity, constipation, or tight clothing. And also, gut health is all about digestion and food. Again, this is false. Anxiety, stress, and depression can trigger some symptoms within our gut. So our mental well-being and self-care is extremely important, obviously not only for our overall well-being, but also for your gut health as well. And regardless of the foods that you eat, you may be consuming a healthy, balanced, varied diet, but if we are stressed, anxious, this can alter that with all the right foods as well. So the good news is that we can actually promote or top up on the good bacteria which is within our guts. The first way is to consume active or live cultures of bacteria. And these are live microorganisms which are capable of withstanding the stomach's gastric juices, so able to withstand the acidity within our stomach, stay alive, and actually enter into our intestine, and obviously our GI tract and our colon, to be able to colonize and to create that extra protective barrier. Examples of where we can consume these live and active cultures include fermented milk drinks, fermented yogurts, which does not include live yogurts, which people tend to be a little bit confused by, but the bacteria within live yogurts is unable to withstand the acidity, so they're killed off within the stomach and they don't actually make it to the colon, where they can then colonize and be beneficial for us. Also through dietary supplements and fermented foods. There's also some specific advice set out by NICE, which is the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, on consuming these products, especially if you do suffer from irritable bowel syndrome. And that is to stick to one product for a minimum of 4 weeks. This is because there will be changes within your gut health, within the bacteria within your gut. You may experience some side effects such as bloating or intestinal gas, but hopefully over those 4 weeks, these should begin to settle down, and that this is when we'll see those benefits and changes within your gut health. And also use the dose that is stated on the product pack, and this will vary depending on the product that you opt for. If you do choose to opt into some of these food items, some of these products, some top tips is just to ensure the strain is stated on the product. And as mentioned earlier, the lactobacilli and the bifidobacteria species have the most amount of evidence out there to suggest they are beneficial for us. Check the name has 3 parts. And also check the quantity of bacteria is at least 1 billion. And if you can see on this picture in the bottom right, it's usually stated as 10 to the power of another number. So we want this other number to be at least 10 for it to reach that per billion per package. Now, we can also promote the growth of good bacteria within the gut by feeding it. So if you imagine you use fertilizer to help your grass grow, you can do the same by fertilizing the good bacteria in your gut by feeding them correctly. And this is through consuming non-digestible food ingredients such as fibre. So fibre is really beneficial because firstly, it does help promote the growth of bacteria, but it also helps bulk out our waste and get rid of toxins from our bodies. It's recommended that we consume around 30 grams of fibre per day, and on average we are only actually consuming 19 grams, so really trying to opt for whole grain varieties of bread, rice, pastas, including beans, pulses and legumes within your meals and within your dishes can increase our fibre intake as well. Next, it's obviously important to try and aim for 5 a day, eat a range of fruits and vegetables to provide a good mix of vitamins, minerals and fibre. If we can, we want to try and eat the rainbow, so lots of different colours of fruits and vegetables to provide with those different vitamins and minerals, and ensuring that actually you are meeting one portion rather than just like one grape. You need a handful or a cupful of grapes. And where possible and where it is suitable, try and make sure you keep the skins on, because again, this will increase your fibre intake and help you reach that 30 grams per day. Also recommended to cut back on processed foods. This is because, again, there's research out there to suggest that after consumption of these foods or consuming these foods regularly can actually lead to inflammation. And as we saw earlier, inflammation can impact our gut health, mood, and overall health and well-being. So where we can, try and cut back on these foods. And alongside a healthy, balanced and varied diet, there are also specific foods which can encourage the growth of good bacteria, and those include artichokes, onions, garlics, legumes, asparagus, bananas, and so on. And these are really easy actually just to add into your everyday food items. You can flavour your foods with onions and garlics more often. You can create stews or soups with these other items to increase the amount that is in your diet and to promote the growth of good bacteria. But overall, a healthy, balanced and varied diet following the Eat Well Guide recommendations and principles will also ensure that you're keeping your gut health healthy. So all of these food groups in the right proportions will keep your gut health healthy as well. So again, just some common myths now to bust after the completion of those slides. So a restrictive diet is the way forward, for example, gluten or lactose free. This is actually extremely common. People tend to think, oh, I'm bloated. Maybe it's because I'm eating some sort of gluten or some sort of bread, and that's what's caused it. This is in fact false. All foods can be enjoyed. It's all about inclusive, being inclusive, having a diversity, varied diet. Obviously, unless you've been diagnosed with an allergy or an intolerance to a food, they are okay to be consuming, and actually restricting ourselves of the foods could lead to that intolerance. Yes, you might be consuming a completely healthy, balanced diet, But again, we've got to think about the mental health and the mental well-being as well, and how it may link in with bloating when you do experience it. And also, I need lots of products to cleanse and detox, again, is false. Cleansing and detoxing can actually be very harmful for your gut. So not only will it flush out the bad bacteria, but it can also flush out good bacteria, which obviously we need within our body. And our body is extremely complex and equipped already to detox your body. And that's what our immune system's there for, to get rid of and fight off pathogens and get rid of all the toxins within our body. So we don't need to sign up to a cleanse or detox. Now, obviously, it's not just around what we eat. So there's some extra tips on how to keep your gut health in check. The first one is to exercise. So exercise is really important, as it not only keeps our colon moving, regular bowel movements to eliminate waste and toxins, but more recent studies suggest that it can increase the volume and diversity of good bacteria within the gut, which is obviously beneficial. So it is recommended to aim for 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity a week, or 75 minutes of intense or vigorous activity a week. And obviously it doesn't have to be intense. If you do have very hectic lifestyles, if you don't feel as if you're fit enough, it can just be incorporated within your daily routine. So parking a little bit further away, taking the stairs where possible. It's also important to try and manage our stress levels. So as explained earlier, your brain and your gut constantly talk to each other through that brain-gut axis. When we are stressed, we also release a hormone known as cortisol, which can disrupt this communication even more and result in digestive health disturbances and alters our gut layer bacterial layer composition. So again, try and manage our stress and reduce stress by trying meditation, yoga, talking to someone, taking that time out, taking a break, maybe going to do exercise, going for a walk to manage your stress before it gets too much. Also, try and have a good sleep routine. So if you're not getting enough sleep, it can disturb your digestion and cause problems for your gut. So you might want to try mindfulness or meditation. There's useful apps that you can download, such as Calm or Headspace, just before you go to bed to settle down. Avoid screen time before bed, as this can alter our sleep. Try and avoid caffeinated drinks. Obviously, they're a stimulant. You may want to try herbal teas instead. And also just try and get into a really good sleep routine. So making sure it's consistent, you've got an alarm there to wake you up at the same time, and you aim to go to bed at the same time is important. We should also try and limit alcohol. Excessive amounts of alcohol can change the composition and causes an inflammatory response in our gut, as there'll be more bad bacteria than good bacteria. So do just be mindful of your units and try and stick to the guidelines of 14 units per week over a minimum of 3 days. You might want to try non-alcoholic alternatives, obviously being aware of calorie and sugar content and how it may influence your daily calorie intake. And obviously, if you are dehydrated, just opt for water. We also should try and stay hydrated. So this is really important to keep the muscular lining within the gut healthy. So as I mentioned, our gut bacteria is our first line of defense. Our muscular layer is our second line of defense. So again, trying to keep that healthy is really important. As we get older, this naturally begins to dry out. So staying hydrated can top this up and help our gut health. And finally, avoid taking unnecessary antibiotics. So only take them if they are absolutely necessary, as again, these have been seen to alter the gut bacteria balance and can actually leave us perhaps more under the weather or more poorly if we don't necessarily need to take them in the first place. So just a quick summary. So hopefully you've got a good understanding of the fact that we are made up of lots of bacteria. That's actually not all detrimental to our health. It can really benefit our health, in particular within our colon. It affects our digestive health as well as mental health. And also there are things that we can do to put in place to increase our good bacteria and keep our gut health in check. So by consuming them, promoting the growth of them, and obviously just overall gut health tips and tricks. Just before we end, just like to mention that we do have our monthly wellness newsletter, which is going out every month. If you would like this sent straight into your inbox each month, just drop us an email at ess.wellness@compass-group.co.uk. So get that sent out to you. You've got all of the health and wellbeing initiatives which are running through that month. We're also across social media. So at the moment we've got TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, everything's been updated and uploaded onto there, so keep an eye out. And also finally, of course, always drop us an email if you have any queries or interested in any of the services in which we can help you out for. And with that, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you now know how to look after the good bacteria within our guts, and I can't see any questions which have come through, but like I said, if you do have any questions, drop us an email straight after and we'll be happy to answer those. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.